Hey everybody, got another video here for you. So, this isn't done, I just got to start on the front side really. Yeah, but you get the idea. I'll just keep at it, it's still, you can feel the polish on it. And yeah, see, watch, I can actually make little streak marks in it almost with the polish. It's still on there. So, yeah, you just keep at it until basically there's no polish left. And that's it. And heavy pressure can make it go faster, but it increases the chance of having the thing pull away from you and you damaging the work. So I personally favor lighter polishing, more lighter polishing as opposed to less heavier polishing, because it's less risk of having the polisher grab the work from you, from your hands. So I'm just going to keep at this for a bit. And then you let it dry. To tell you the truth, these frets are in really nice shape. I mean, just a rolling with sandpaper would do the trick probably. I'm just doing this to be thorough, so I don't think you really need to see me time lapse all of this. I'm going to knock down all the corners all along the fretboard. Okay, all the bottom corners of the fret ends have been rounded, and now I'm going to roll it with some, what is this here? 150 grit. And now I'm going to run through the grits along the edge on both sides to polish the ends, starting with 320 and then getting finer from there. Yeah, so the trick is the tape that you put at the sides here. You mask it off normally, but you also mask off the edges. And then you just polish it, peel it all off, and there's like zero cleanup. So, as you can see here, I've got just about every luthiery tool you could ever want at my disposal, between this fret leveling kit and this fret replacing kit or refretting kit. Yeah, I've got pretty much everything. So you might be wondering why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. And so, for example, fret guards versus masking tape. The fret guards, they don't protect this part, and they're thicker than masking tape, which means that you can't get at the very bottom edge of the frets for like polishing or crowning or whatever you're doing. So I don't use these. I use masking tape or painter's tape. And here's the other example. Autosol and the rotary wheel versus like Baroque brand fret erasers. And, you know, these are okay, and they'll do a lot of cool stuff, but this does frets better. And these will clean up other things like, you know, fretboards and such, but I try to avoid that kind of thing because they can leave residue, which can be hard to clean up. So yeah, that was just a quick and dirty on why I don't use fret erasers on frets and why I don't use fret guards on frets, because there are superior methods I've discovered through trial and error over the last 5 or 6 years. So first thing I do when is all like, you know, how do you do this or that, polish frets? And I'll like go and watch every YouTube video I can find on it. It's like, oh yeah, this dude's doing that way and this dude's doing that way. And eventually you've seen the videos or most all of the methods, and you try them all out and you figure out what works and what doesn't. Or even better, you stumble across a video where somebody tries it all out for you and tells you what they found out. So, but yeah, this is what I've found out so far, is that nothing beats this. And these suck. And these, I've used them in the past, but I use this for frets, and there are other ways that I do other things. You might need this kind of a tool more if you're doing like maintenance and repair rather than building. So, but anyway, just thought that might be of use. So I'm always thinking about ways I can improve my processes. And one example, you saw the way I was doing these, masking off these frets. It occurred to me last night that what I can do is, instead of masking across the top and then across the side and then tearing it all off when I was done, I could mask a whole bunch of them across the side and then just go down one by one and mask the tops as I go, but not have to worry about masking the side each time that way. And that saves me at least a little bit of time. About the only other thing I was thinking of was maybe if you mask the entire side first, masked off the whole thing like you were masking off an entire fretboard except for the frets, and then just polish it all right in a row that way. And that way you wouldn't lose all the time you spend switching back and forth between the tape and the rotary tool. But that's about all I can think of, other than doing it like, you know, a guitar shop does it, where they mask off the whole thing, and then they take it over to the buffer wheel and use, you know, white Trueller's Rouge, which is kind of like what I'm using here, and just do the whole thing on a big old buffer wheel right quick. And yeah, that'd be even a little bit faster than doing it with the Dremel. But I don't have a big, huge buffer wheel, so. And I'm also not, you know, turning out 100 guitars a day in a small factory or something like that. These are all just custom one-off shots. And this right here is the reason why you want a rotary tool that has an extension cord on it, flexible extension thing on it. If you have a regular rotary tool, you'd have a big old handle back here, and you could only get it maybe this angle for polishing a fret. With this thing, you can get pretty much horizontal while you're doing it. Just like that. So, yeah. This alone, because of the fact that you don't have to come in this way and then come around and come in this way and that kind of stuff, because of the fact that the tool is not the right size for the job. Right size tool for the job. Guitars are not that big. You don't need that big a tool. Yeah, so, okay, I'm done preaching. Okay, I've got all the frets polished now, And one thing about taping a whole bunch of them at once along the side is that you got to wait until you get all the tape off again before you can do any cleanup. So before, I would like just do one fret, and then I would peel off all the tape, and then I could just rub off any residue with the tissue right quick. But since somewhere up around here, or wherever I started taping a whole bunch along the side, none of these frets have been cleaned of residue. So either I go along now and do that, but the next thing to be done to this neck is the inlay stickers. And the first step on doing the inlay stickers is to clean the fretboard with naphtha. So I'm going to kind of kill two birds with one stone and get that polish residue off the frets and clean the fretboard with naphtha all at once. As soon as I get this last piece of tape off here. And with that, the neck and the body are both done, and the guitar is ready for assembly. So I suppose you could say the real inspiration for this build is this part right here. I saw this, or one of these, online a couple years ago and said, wow, that'd make a cool guitar. And that's what inspired the Oriental 2 build. And yeah, that's how it's getting its name of the Ebony Archtop. And of course, if you've got the Ebony tailpiece, you have to match it with the Ebony Archtop type bridge too. And then, so that's what sort of inspired this build. And in keeping with the Ebony, I was looking for some cool tuners to go with this stuff, and specifically this. And I came across these black and gold tuners that are locking. And that kind of set the whole theme for the guitar of being black with gold accents for the hardware. And on a lot of the things like the bridge and the jack and the strap locks and the nut, right here. On a lot of these things, what I've done is I've gotten the parts in both black and gold and then mixed and matched the bits and pieces in order to do black and gold versions. And so, yeah, this is the first piece of black and gold hardware that's going on. Okay, so the nut is going to go like right there, and I have to determine exactly how high, whether I need to file that down some or shim it up some or what. Okay, so here's how you figure out how high to make your lock nut when you're putting a lock nut on one of these things. You need a very thin, straight edge. I like a fret pulling guard. That's what this is actually. The idea is you get the fret started pulling it and then slip this underneath, and then when you finish pulling, it helps avoid tear out. But it's also thin enough that it'll actually get inside the slot here, allow you to use it like a little fret rocker. What you want to do is you put it across number 1 and 2 frets and put it in the slot, and when it's at the perfect height, it will just wiggle because it's just above the first fret. It'll rest on the second fret and it'll rest at the bottom of the slot, and it'll be just above the first fret. And this nut is low. You can almost see it rocking. Let me turn the camera a little. So here I am on the second fret, and yeah, it rocks. So this is definitely going to need some shim. I'll put some test shim under here, like I guess try 1 mil. It might not even need 1 mil. And once I figure out how much goes in there that I can fit a piece in, it's kind of nice that it still has this back ridge here and then this groove or channel here, because it makes the nut tilt this way some. And if you look at the front of a Floyd Rose nut, you'll see that the front leading edge of the bottom of the nut is not where the intonation point is up here at the top. And so the nut really needs to be installed not perfectly flat, but tilted ever so slightly forward in order to get the best possible intonation. You want it more or less so that this bit that's leaning back is almost vertical. It's kind of weird, but yeah, that's the way it goes. So yeah, you want to get the leading edge of the top at the nut line, which means that the back end of the fingerboard needs to be flush with the front edge of the nut, which means that the nut actually goes in at an angle, kind of like that. And this is like almost the perfect angle already. So it doesn't look like I'm going to need anything except for a little bit of shim to raise it up a bit. And I'll play that game and then I'll film installing it. In the meantime, all that oil has soaked in. I didn't wipe off any of it. And the fingerboard's looking pretty nice now. Okay, I played the test shim game, and I came up with 1.5 millimeters of shim and the size of the base of the nut, which is 15 by 40. And there's the 1/2 mil material, and there's the 1 mil material, and now it's time to make some shims. So I just checked and I have an ebony truss rod cover on the way, but it won't be here for another week. Fortunately, it doesn't really affect anything else, so I can go ahead and put the tuners on, and then when the truss rod cover comes in, I just put that on. Probably, a week from now, I won't have the strings, won't be ready, won't have it strung up yet, so I'll do it then. And now all it needs is the truss rod cover. Pretty, isn't it? So, except for the truss rod cover, the neck is pretty much all assembled and ready to be bolted onto the body. And but before I actually bolt it onto the body, I want to paint the cavity, the control cavity in the body with shielding paint first. Just because that way the body will be all flat still and it'll make it easy to do. Oh, this is cool. The shielding paint spills clean up with Windex. You can see right there a little bit, right in there. A little Windex and all gone. Well, Windex cleaned up almost everything, but there was one little really stubborn spot right here, and Touch and Naphtha took care of that. So now it's all cleaned up. So before I put the neck on, there's one last thing I want to do, and that is drill holes for the tailpiece, because it's a lot easier to do it without the neck on. I've already got it all set up, just got to drill 2 holes. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. So, until the next one, everybody, have a good one.